Hi everybody, I'm Phil with LS2 Helmets, and in this video we're going to talk about how to install the LINKIN RIDEPAL 3 by SENA in the LS2 Valiant. Now, the basic installation process that I show you for the Valiant is really pretty much the same for any model that the LINKIN RIDEPAL 3 will fit. And there are 4 or 5 different LS2 models that you can install it in. We will include a full list of those at the end of this video. Before we get started, I want to make 2 quick points. These are the areas that we get the most calls on our customer service line with these 2 questions. The first is, before you ever start the installation, please take your LINKIN RIDEPAL 3 and charge it fully. There is a residual charge typically when you get these out of the box. People think that they can turn them on, and then once it's installed, it's not operating properly. So make sure you charge it. And the second thing is, when you're turning it on, there are 2 buttons, a center button and a plus button. I'm going to show you that actually once it's already installed, how to turn it on and off. But keep in mind, it's going to be 2 buttons, not 1. So back to the Valiant for just a moment. Wonderful touring helmet, sport touring helmet, dual sport helmet, adventure helmet, 180-degree flip front. You can get the chin bar out of the way when you want it to. You can see that the shield comes up automatically when you do. You can run it with the face shield down and no chin bar like a 3/4 helmet. It has a built-in slidable sunscreen that you see right there. You can run it with or without. Anytime you move the chin bar, the shield automatically goes out of the way for clearance, and you can run it like a full face if you choose. So back to the LINKIN RIDEPAL 3 by SENA, we're going to show you how to install that now. Okay, so you can see that I have the helmet resting on a nice thick folded towel. There are a few things that are more frustrating than scratching your new helmet while you're trying to install your new Bluetooth system. And I find that a folded towel just helps keep the helmet in place and just makes it a little bit easier, a little bit nicer work surface. Now, in the box with your LINKIN RIDEPAL 3, you're going to find 2 pad sets like this. And the first thing that you're going to want to do is remove those that are already in the helmet. You can see there, this one here. And on this side, there's just a cuff. So I'm going to reach up underneath and I'm going to unsnap it right there. There's the snap, and there's what I pulled it off of, the internal snap, the red piece. Now, any LS2 helmet that has that red snap right there can accept the LINKIN RIDEPAL 3 by SENA. So I have to feed the strap through and remove this sleeve. And you can see this is the one with an oval on it, and I'm going to replace it with the other sleeve that has the oval. Work it through. It takes a little bit of doing because of this rubber cuff, but we should be able to get that off. And there we go. And now I'm going, as I mentioned, I'm going to replace it with the one that has the oval. You can see that it's a little bit thicker, and it's thicker because it's going to house the actual switch system for the LINKIN RIDEPAL 3. So in it goes. And in fact, I'm going to remove this rubber piece and I'll put it on after the fact just to get the friction or the traction of that piece out of the way. Okay, once it's on, I'm going to reach up inside, and again, you can see the red snap, and here's the snap from the sleeve, and I'm going to put them together and snap it into place. Then on the opposite side, do the same. Now, for the sake of video time, I'm going to do that off camera. All right, so I've wiggled the other sleeve on, which you can see has this box-shaped rubber piece here, and that's going to hold the brain unit for the LINKIN RIDEPAL 3. And then, again, there's that red snap I spoke of before, and I'm just snapping it into place. And boom, we're in. So you can see I have those on and installed. The next step is I'm going to remove the cheek pads, and they're just held in by snaps. And I'm going to slide the same unit through the cheek pad. And then the cheek pad is attached to this horseshoe or neck gasket. I'm going to go ahead and unsnap it on the other side. And you can see there is the snap right there. It's the same on both sides in case I didn't show you earlier. And here, there you go. And once again, I'm going to draw this sleeve through. Some people find it easier to pull to install those sleeves after the fact. You can see I just did it prior, and it's no problem. So when I want to get this out, I'm going to start at the back and give it a tug and just work it out, somewhat like a tube on a bicycle. You're trying to work it around the system, and out it comes. And then there are two prongs at the front. You can see one here, and there's one here. So the last step is to just work it all the way free. There's I didn't have one of the cheek pads unsnapped, so I got that done. Pull it back and slide it out. Set that aside. And now we're going to go inside and remove the inner top pad. So this unit is the cheek pad and neck roll, and inside here is the top pad. So just slide that out. And then at the front, there are little blades that essentially stick under this piece here. You just get that out of the way so you can see what I'm doing, and boom. You can see how each of those little blades tucks in along the front here, and out it comes and exposes the full interior. All right, so we're ready to install the unit. Before we do, I want you to notice that I have it laid out, and I've tried to lay it out so that the wires are separated as they come out of the switch unit. So this is the farthest right, the boom mic is the center, the brain is the third wire on this plug, and then separate from that is the antenna. It's the farthest left, as it's situated here on this table. Now, notice that these wires are not super thick, so you want to be a little bit cautious about how you go about installing it. If you tuck it in and it gets caught on something, be very careful as you're unhooking it so that you don't end up breaking a wire. Inside your kit were two of these teardrop-shaped hook and loop pads, and on the back of these speakers, they actually, you'll hear, that's how you're going to hold the speaker in the helmet. So we need to install these first. I'm going to pull the helmet back into the camera range here, and I'm going to peel the back off of these. Okay, there we go. Now, I don't know that there's any actual particularly right or wrong way of installing them, but you're going to want to install it into this little, you can see the curve right there where the speaker would be recessed slightly. So I'm just going to find a good location, and I'm going to set this in and press it in. Now, this little tab right here, I'm sorry, it's a little bit hard to show you on the camera, that tab right there allows me to press on that when I want to pull the speaker off so that I don't end up pulling that Velcro, or it's actually not Velcro, I shouldn't say that, hook and loop, back out. So we're going to do the same on the opposite side. And again, there's the indentation. Here's my hook and loop material. I'm going to pull the backing off. And now I'm going to install it. Just press it into place. There we go. All right. Now, I find that it's probably easiest if I install this first and slide it in, and I'm actually going to go ahead and turn it around this way and install this in first, the switch unit. Just slide it into place. Tuck it in. You can see it wants to buckle a little bit until it's all the way in, and make sure this little flap is over, and then line it up and we're good. So now again, you can see these wires. There's one, there's two, there's three, and there's four. And you're going to want to align them so that they'll wrap to the best of your ability wherever they need to around this or inside this little lip right here. And it takes a little bit of consideration, a little bit of doing, but ultimately you just want to try to hide them and keep them out of your way to the best of your ability. All right, so here's the antenna. Again, it's the first wire. It's the first one that I'm going to place. This has a little bit of flexibility to it. You don't want to bend it too far, but you're basically going to rest it into this groove back here and just tuck it in a little bit. And there it is. Then I'm going to take the next wire, which is the brain right there, and I'm going to loop it around and tuck this underneath as far as I can, and then I'm going to place it into the pocket on the sleeve of the strap right here. And just slide it in until it's all the way in. Now, these wires are going to want to wiggle around, and there's a chance that they'll come out of place as you're installing the next item. And again, it can be a little bit frustrating if you haven't done it more than once. So just take your time, realize that if this came out, you just tuck it right back in, put it back into place. The next wire is connected to the boom mic. So it's going to go around, and the way that I like to install it is like this, so that I'm going to place the Velcro, and I keep calling it Velcro, and it's not. It's actually hook and loop, and I'm going to do it somewhat like this. Now, you may choose to have it in a different place. You might want to rotate it a little more forward, like that. There's no particular right or wrong on this as long as you're able to access it when you need it, and you want to be able to flex it. So now it's in place. I'm tucking the wire up underneath, and I'm actually going to put the brain wire underneath it there. And let's see what I have here. All right, so now we have the last speaker to worry about, and I'm just going to tuck it in like I have the others, and I'm going to allow, let's get this out of the way hopefully so you can see it. There's my hook and loop piece. It's kind of teardrop shape, and I'm going to allow that to adhere right there. Now, when you're sticking these on, you want to make sure that the speaker is not resting against this little lip. You want it tucked in so that you have as much clearance on the ear space as possible. And so now we're going to go and we're going to install the top pad once again. Here it is. I'm going to slide it in. Basically line it up. And if you look underneath here, you'll see there are little circles that line up with snaps on the front. They aren't really what hold it in place, but it gives you a good idea of the alignment for the piece. So I'm tucking these little blades that I spoke of earlier. I'm tucking them up underneath, and you just kind of work it around. You'll see the slots for them. It's flexible. You don't want to kink it, but it's okay to flex it a bit to get it into place. And you might have to wiggle it side to side to ultimately line it up. And you'll see right there, I had to tuck this little flap underneath the edge of the EPS. And we're almost there. And we're in. Line it up nicely. I think we're all set. The back just simply tucks this lip right here, tucks between the EPS and that little lip around the edge of the helmet there. And in it goes. And I have to get it over the wires a bit. And I'm in. And now I'm going to install the neck roll and cheek pads. And I find if the boom mic is straight out like this to start, you can see how I have it routed. I just personally find it the easiest way to install. And so now, remember, we had to wiggle these out of the cheek pads. Now we've got to wiggle them back through. Just feed it through. like that on both sides. One of the things that you want to pay attention to is the overall firm wire at the back. So I've tucked it in, and I'm speaking of this loop of wire right here. If you get frustrated, it's possible to kink it or bend it, and it won't want to fit properly. If you're gentle with it, you can see there's a little bend in it right there. That's not going to hurt anything. It is the device that seals the neck roll underneath the lip that we've been talking about here. So you want to start, I find it's easiest if you start with the front and get that groove, excuse me, get that point into the receiver right there. So I've gotten the two tips in, and again, I find it easiest to get those started, both sides started first. And I went ahead and snapped this cheek pad on this side in just so that it's more stable and doesn't want to move around quite as much. So then it's just a matter of tucking this in. But you need to go from both sides and work it around until you have the last little bit right at the back here. So you're just flexing it in and shoving it under that lip and tucking it in. Just like that. When you get to this seam, it can be a little bit tricky. So again, just make sure you're up and under and tucking it, pressing it in to the best of your ability. Go with both sides. And then when you get to this back part, it's a bit like wiggling an inner tube back into a tire, or a tire back onto the rim. You just keep working it gently. When it fights you, you tuck it under. Don't let it win the battle. Bit by bit, you can see I've got a little fold there. That's okay. I'm just going to fold it under and then tuck that back in and straighten it out. Tuck it in. Now I'm going to snap these cheek pads into place. And there we go. We're installed. And you can see it's a nice clean installation. There are your switches. There's your brain. If it weren't for the boom mic, you wouldn't even know that it had a Bluetooth system in it.